Well, thank you very much, Superintendent Momon, for being on our show today.
You're welcome.
Please give us some of the background.
Okay, I've been in this district 28 years. I came here, my family, in 1986, started in this district as a counselor. And around 1992, I transitioned from a counselor to an administrator. And I served in that capacity to 2006 as a dean of students and then as a principal in 2001 to 2006. In 2006, then I transitioned to the district as a senior director for human resources, and then later transitioned to the assistant superintendent of human resources. I've been at the district level for about 7 years, and the last 2.5 years I've been serving as the superintendent for the Victor Valley Union High School District.
It's been exciting times for you, haven't
It's been a lot of exciting times.
Well, like many school districts presently in California, a lot of financial challenges are happening here at Victor Valley Union High School District. Can you give us a quick update?
I can. About a year and a half ago, we started to realize that we were in a financial crisis. It didn't come to fruition until last July, when the county disapproved our budget, basically because we were deficit spending, and we were in a situation where making payment, in other words, paying salaries to staff was a struggle because of deficit spending, and we were below our 3% reserve as a district for a number of different reasons. To date, we are doing much better as a district, but we still are deficit spending. We need to still focus on the 14-15 and 15-16 school year. So we have implemented quite a few cost-saving measures in the district. One is through layoffs, of course. The other has been through, we're looking at health and welfare, and furlough days is another area that we've been able to address with our bargaining units. We're also looking at bringing in other types of funding into the district to offset some of our deficit spending. For example, we have an American Express program that we're working with. And so instead of paying bills with a check, you use the credit card. And it's a cohort of districts that work together to build up points. And we kind of do this in our everyday lives with certain companies where we can build up points and then you get something at the end. In our case, what we'll end up getting is a certain percentage of the total amount. I don't know what the total amount is at this point in time, but the cohort will earn about $750,000. Wow. So that will be going to the general fund. The interesting thing about school districts is that we are accustomed to spending money and not bringing in monies into a school district. So we're trying to do some different things to offset deficit spending. We are doing a reorganization of how we pay salaries using categorical funds to take the pressure off or the impact off of our general funds. So we have more money going out so that we could pay salaries. We could build up our reserve to that 3% margin based on the education code, but more importantly, being able to have monies to be able to pay the bills.
How did we get here?
Well, it's a long story. I inherited the problem, number one. coming in as a new superintendent. I think a lot of it is that we weren't careful in terms of how we spent monies. I don't think we did a very good job of keeping track of monies coming in, monies going out, what funding sources we were utilizing. Another part of it was through Measure V, which was the $500 million bond that was passed, I believe in 2006. Part of that was, I think there was money that was guaranteed to another entity, so $36 million went out of that to fund another entity. Also, building Atlanta High School initially was going to be built for about 18 to 2,000 kids, and it ended up being built for about 3,000 plus kids. And I can understand some of the rationale because the economy crashed, labor, materials went down. So you had about $120 million school that went down to about $70 million. So $30 million of that savings went back into the school. So when you add it up, there are $66 million that could have been in our budget.
Oh, yeah. I know the economy had something to do with that as well. The bond was out there and the economy kind of dropped.
Yes. When property valuation dropped, you can't really go out and sell bonds. So the district had put together an extensive game plan in terms of addressing a lot of our facilities in the district, which we definitely need to address. So when the economy dropped, you weren't able to go back out and issue new bonds.
Well, I know a question that a lot of our viewers are going to be asking. What happens if the state takes over?
That's come up quite a bit as far as a state takeover. And to be honest with you, we were very close of going off that financial cliff. But again, you know, the goal is to be able to pull together as a team, be able to utilize everyone's skill sets to move the district forward. If by chance there was a state takeover, Tom Torrickson's office would hire a state administrator. That individual would come in and actually run the district. So what happens is that they release the superintendent. The board is only advisory. Unions don't have any say-so whatsoever. Your community doesn't have any say-so. So everything is run by that state administrator. Everything is decided on by that state administrator. But what can happen is that state administrator now is here only to make sure that the state has paid back their loan. So that means there could be deeper cuts, more layoffs, and programs slashed. And your community, your board, would not have any say-so. That process can last up to 5 to 20 years, depending on how long it's going to take to be able to pay the loan off to back to the state. The other thing is that the district also has to pick up the salary of that state administrator or whoever else he brings into the fold.
What are some of the measures the school district has already taken to combat this shortfall?
What we're working on right now is that we're working on a new financial plan to submit to the county, and that is due by September 9th. And it's to look at revising our budget, and hopefully if everything is approved, then we'll move from a negative certification at least to a qualified certification. Right. So that's our focus. So the key is that we have to maintain what we're doing. We have to continue to look at cost-saving measures. And when I mentioned to you about reorganizing the budget in terms of how we pay salaries is huge. Because we're looking at probably about a little over $1 million in savings in terms of how we restructure that process. So there'll be less monies coming out of general fund to pay salaries. We will be able to use categoricals now to offset the difference. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Some of the minor things, we changed out our Xerox machines, for example, to use machines that are function at a more cost savings level. You know, we're still looking at health and welfare in terms of a cap, and so we're working with our associations in that arena as well. So mainly it's just maintaining what we've done so far.
Well, how will children be affected?
Well, at this point, we've been very successful. So the goal is that it's not going to happen. We're going to be very successful in what we're trying to do. Our goal is to make sure that this district becomes financially solvent. So we're not going to get to that point. Our goal is to maintain the programs that we have. We have excellent programs in this district for young people. We have a great career technical education program. We just opened up a brand new school called Cobalt Institute of Math and Science, which focuses on bioscience. We are looking at Lakeview School, changing the name and the theme in that school. So we're looking to name that school Lakeview Leadership Academy, with a theme, with a process, a different type of curriculum for young people. So we're being very innovative. The other thing that people don't realize in our district is that every one of our schools has a pre-engineering program, and most people don't realize that. We have a very good nursing program in the district in which we work with VVC. Matter of fact, VVC is leasing out a part of the Cobalt Middle School to continue their CNA program, their Certified Nurses Assistant program. Hopefully that will be able to expand. So we're doing some innovative things in the district.
You have a pretty good culinary program as well, right?
We have an excellent culinary arts program, yes.
I'd like to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Get some food.
Well, I'd love to take you for a tour.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I just feel like that's my destiny. You get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
Welcome back to Our Community, brought to you by the CYAP. Can you tell us some of the challenges the school district is going to face?
Yeah, of course, budget's number one. Average daily attendance is another, because we are experiencing a decline in enrollment. So we're trying to look at that piece to see why we're losing students. We don't really know why, but enrollment is down. So we did an attendance audit this summer to see where we might be losing students, or to see if our accounting practices are sound. Those are the two big areas that we're really focusing on right now. We just put in a new central enrollment center. So instead of parents and kids going to a site to register or to enroll, they will go to one location to enroll, which is a central enrollment center. We're also going to be meeting on a weekly basis to look at attendance and make sure we're doing our attendance accounting consistently across the district. We're also looking at registration to see how many kids are dropping out of our district, because we haven't done a good job in terms of really keeping track of our dropout rate. So that's another area that we need to look at.
Yeah, I thought it was a whole nother dropout rate statistics, because when a person leaves your district or move out of state, it's difficult to track them. So do you count them, do you not count them? And there's always been a confusion in California.
Well, with the dropout rate, if they transfer out of your district or leave your district and you don't know anything about it, that constitutes a dropout.
Okay.
But if we know where they moved to and what schools they checked into, then that person just transferred out of your district.
Okay. Well, I understand that San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools has appointed Michelle McCrawley as your financial advisor to help the district get back on track with financially, et cetera. How is that coming?
No, actually, it's been pretty exciting to have Michelle on board. She is definitely one of the best in the business. She's given us good advice. Believe it or not, she's vested. She's almost like a regular employee in the district. She's definitely vested in what we're trying to do. She's very passionate in terms of the direction that we're headed. She's worked very closely with our board. So we've been very excited about having Michelle in our district.
Yeah, I've talked to her a couple of times, and I think she's a consummate professional.
Yes, she
and
is.
she's extremely knowledgeable, and I think she'll help the district out quite a bit.
She has.
What we understand, the latest budget the school board submitted was rejected by the county. What's next?
We just got the word officially today. We just got the official letter today. Initially, we had just gotten a draft, so we knew that that was going to be the case. But today we got the official notification that our budget has been disallowed.
Okay.
But as I mentioned before, we have to put together a financial plan, which the board has to approve, and that is due into the county on September 9th.
Okay.
Showing the changes, showing that we're reducing deficit spending, and that's the biggest nemesis is deficit spending.
Right.
So we get our hands around that, we're going to be in pretty good shape as a district.
Well, how does the passing of Proposition 30 affect the school district?
Well, it was what it did. It didn't bring in any additional revenue, but what it did, it just kept the district whole. For example, in 2011-12, our ADA per student, annual per student, was $5,972. In 12-13, our ADA per student annual was $5,992, for example. And if Prop 30 would have failed, then the governor would have been taking about $470 per student from our ADA count. We have 10,000 students, so that's going to equate to several $1 million.
Yeah,
So what it did, it kept us whole.
Well, I heard some great things about your calm and steady leadership style. How is that style going to help the district deal with some of the financial situations it has right now?
Well, you know, I don't know if it's my calm leadership approach. I think the idea is just have a focus on the big picture and have a good supporting team behind you. It's really a team effort in terms of what we do. And as long as we stay focused on the goal, the mission at hand, we're going to be successful. And you have to believe in what you're doing. And I think it's like a championship game. You have to go in knowing that you're going to win that game.
Well, how is the district going to deal with AB 1729, the Pupils' Bill of Rights, if you will? The portion talks about expulsions and suspensions, and how are the district planning to address those needs?
Well, what we've done in terms of alternative to suspensions and expulsions, we have several programs in place throughout the district. For example, we have the ripple effect that both Victor and Silverado used last year. And it's a Christian group that comes on campus to work with our young people. Just speaking with Principal Douglas, he stated that he had a 35% reduction in suspensions this past year. We also have EWIS, which is Early Warning Intervention System. So we try to identify kids early and their red flags, so that way that we can provide early intervention to those young people before they get to the point of being suspended or expelled from a district. So we look at attendance. That's a red flag. We look at grades, which is another red flag. And then we look at their discipline profile. So we try to provide that early intervention before they get to that next point. We also have what we call response to intervention that we implemented early last year. And again, the early intervention is to address kids who are not performing well academically, so that way we can address those critical skill areas and hopefully raise their skills in reading, writing, and mathematics, so therefore they can really focus on being successful in school.
And when you identify these children, what other process is it? Is there a certain teachers or administrators that kind of pull them to the side, or?
Your administration will look at all of the processes, but you do have teachers involved in that process. You actually have a team of people, of teachers, professionals classified that are involved in that process to look at those early warning signals of kids. Another thing that that is happening, particularly at Lakeview Middle School, is that Mr. Keeter has a system where he's looking at all the kids' API scores, and so if those kids are below or far below in their skill set, he assigns a mentor to each one of those kids, and the goal is to be able to mentor those kids, counsel with those kids, tutor those kids to help them improve their skills.
Well, sir, your district has already gone through many layoffs and budget cutting efforts. What's next?
What's next is to continue what we're doing right now, continue to still focus on deficit spending, to focus on ADA, but also too, this is the year where we have to prepare our teachers for Common Core, because that is just around the corner in 14-15. So there's going to be a lot of staff development going on to make sure that our teachers are ready to take on the Common Core standards. Also, Smarter Balance is the assessment tool that's going to be used. So technology is another area that we need to look at. So we're actually looking at our infrastructure so that we can start preparing for the Smarter Balance assessment.
Well, given the present financial situation the school district faces, what's the plans to open up the new Adelanto school? Beautiful campus, but what's the plans?
Well, the new steps are we postponed this year because it was a cost-saving measures for the district, but our goal is to be able to open up the new Adelanto High School in August of 2014-15 school year. Currently, we're allowing Adelanto, where they're housed on Seneca right now. So Adelanto is open, it's just not the new facility. But the goal is that we're allowing them to entertain some of their athletic events there. So Principal Craddock was given the athletic budget, and so they've been able to identify the sports that they want to have there this year. So we are occupying that school. We want those kids to feel a major part of their community, and that is their school. So that's their identity.
Well, sir, is there anything else you want to add?
One of the new programs that we're bringing into our district, and it's really to address the SARB issues.
Explain SARB for it.
Okay, SARB is School Attendance Review Board. It's based on chronic attendance. Kids who are not coming to school very often, and so they have to go through what we call a SARB review. And that SARB board is made up of maybe an officer. We have a hearing officer that's a district employee. Probation is a part of that. The component that we're adding to it this year is the Public Defender's Office has a program called MAP, and I can't tell you what the acronym
Phyllis
stands
Moore,
for.
she's an outstanding leader.
Exactly. And so they're going to be working with families, so they will be actually a part of that whole process. And it's a kind of a whole family approach. So when that process is over with and there's a decision in terms of what needs to take place in terms of the SAR piece, that program then will intervene, start working with the families, and the goal is to try to get those kids motivated to want to come to school and not move toward the dropout arena.
Right, to take the right path, if you will.
Exactly. Do the right thing.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.